everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I pick up joined once again by Jake and Fluff.
What's going on, y'all?
What's going on, beautiful people?
And today we got the blue Paikuhan stuff that dropped, so we're gonna kind of go over that stuff and kind of get into it and see how we feel about it. I know from the beginning, Fluff was super excited for this particular deck. He played the old Paikuhan, and I think you were iffy originally about it, and you ended up just falling in love with it to a degree, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It does a lot of things, but doesn't accomplish a ton. But it's still a lot of fun to pilot.
So we got the new stuff here, and they added a new tag to it, which now is, I think beforehand we had West Galaxy Warrior. I don't think that's. I think that we had that before, but now we have another world of Budokai, which is we kind of talked about that before in our previous blue video. But let's get into Paikuhan. So we have the leader. When this card attacks, look up the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 blue card with a energy cost of 1 among them to your hand. Then you shuffle your deck afterwards. Auto, if you have 2 or more energy, when 1 of your energy is added to your Z energy, you may flip this card over. If you do, draw 2 cards and then add cards from your life to your hand. So you have 6 left. Or you just go down to 4 life and draw 2 cards. And upon awakening, you become Paikuhan West Galaxy Warrior, which on attack draws you a card. No more searching, you just guarantee yourself a card. Auto once per turn. If it is your turn, when 1 of your energy is switched to active mode by 1 of your blue card skills, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and return to its owner's hand. Active main once per turn, draw 1 card, then place 1 card from your hand to the top of your deck. That's I'm liking it so far. So
it's the first generic blue leader that we've had in a while. Especially once you get onto the Awakened side. Because go back to the front side real quick. Yeah, and the front side is still pretty generic in and of itself. I mean, you just have to be running energy cost of 1 blue battle cards. Or blue cards, really. It could be Sensu Bean, Dimension
you can
Magic.
grab Bean.
Yeah. So, yeah, this leader is really generic.
So we are having a slight lag issue.
I think the leader's a really good candidate. Yeah, I think we're getting some latency issues.
But we're getting to work out.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, just really good generic. You don't have to build the archetype. You can just build bluecards.exe, and this is a decent leader for it.
For sure.
Time will tell if it's for Soul Striker, but...
And the auto on the secondary awaken, I'm really curious about that. I can't remember the cards. We'll see them in a second. I don't think in the cards we got incorporate the idea of this leader doing alternate awaken, but as we go on the rest of these cards today, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
And also on the awaken side, having the ability to top deck a card, return to owner's hand just by resetting energy, and that's by 1 of your card skills. So it could be a Sensu Bean, as we talked about during your turn, or some of the Paikuhans we have will also reset your energies to help kind of bounce cards on your opponent's side of the field. And this leader does have a awakening leader, which is pretty nice, which will work for the old Paikuhan as well. So double strike Z awaken for 1 blue energy. When this card attacks, you draw 2 cards and you place 1 card from your hand on top of your deck. So that's pretty cool because that way you could just kind of get rid of cards useless, draw 2 cards. Oh, both are great. Okay, this card's useless. Boom. Auto, when this card's powers increase by 1 of your Paikuhan card skills, choose it to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and place it on top of its owner's deck as well. So potentially you could do the non-awakened side first, because it doesn't specify during an attack. So you could do that anytime during your turn. Then you go into the Z Awakening and follow that up on boosting this card's abilities by 1 of your other cards to pitch a secondary card on your opponent's field, which is pretty nice. And the activate main once per turn, return 1 of your blue Paikuhan cards with energy cost of 8 to its owner's hand, and you get to play 1 blue Paikuhan with energy cost of 5 from your hand. So this way, you play the 8, or you have the 8 already established, you can swing with it, immediately activate main, put it back to your hand, play the 5, and have another card to go into potentially in-game stuff.
One thing to note there, because the secret rare is an 8-drop, with the new wording changes on secret rares where if they leave the battle area, they're removed from game instead, you won't be able to use this on the secret rare. You will be able to use this on the secret rare, but it won't go back to your hand. It'll get removed from game instead. So just keep that in mind, but there is an 8-drop that is fairly accessible within this archetype.
And I just want to kind of add on to what Fluff just said. If you were to do this as a secret, which you can, it won't go to your hand like you said, which means you cannot play a card afterwards because part of the cost is send it to your hand. So just keep that in mind as well, like how he said. So let's go over the 5-drop Paikuhan testing opposition. Also, I didn't specify this earlier. I know Paikuhan. We're calling it Paikuhan because that's the way we grew up learning it. Deflect. During your turn, this card gains barrier. Activate main for 2 blue energy. You place 1 Frieza and 1 Cell card from your energy to the owner's drops. Play this card from your hand. Then place the 2 cards from top of your deck in your energy in rest mode. Right there could potentially be a way of just cycling cards out, but it also helps you establish this card very cheaply as well. There's no restriction on the amount of energy you need, but you do need to have a Frieza and a Cell in your energy. So initially, those will be the 2 energies you charge, and immediately tap those 2 cards as well. So you get to play this card for practically 2 energy. Then activate main for 1 blue energy. If your leader card is blue Paikuhan card, and you return this card to its owner's hand, you play up to 1 blue Paikuhan card of energy cost of 8 from your hand. If you played a card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. This has a lot of juggling, as we can already tell, especially if you do the Z Awaken, so you can establish the 5-drop, go into the 8-drop, go back into the 5-drop once again, from what I'm gathering here, combine this with the Z Awaken leader.
And neither of these effects are limit 1 or once per turn. So there's a chance that once you get established, you pretty much are going to shuffle back and forth between the 5-drop and 8-drop until you're out of energy pressuring your opponent.
Going to the 8-drop, Paikuhan, another world champ. Dual attack. Now this card doesn't have deflect, that won't have barrier, so when you play this card using these 5-drop abilities, keep that in mind. This card can't be hit. It is a 30k, which is pretty nice. But activate main, switch this card to rest mode. Switch up to 1 of your blue energies to active mode, and you can't attack with battle cards for the turn. So pretty much it's kind of like a last resort thing. If you want to end your turn, you know you can't go for game, but you get that extra resend, go for it. Activate battle. Once per turn, look up to 1 card from the top of your deck, add up to 1 blue Paikuhan card among them to your hand, then play the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. If you add a card to your hand, choose 1 of your blue cards and it gets plus 5,000 power for turn. That's just really good as well, just help you get that extra boost. And because it states choose 1 of your blue cards, it can actually be any card in battle. And it doesn't specify during your turn or your opponent's turn, so it could be a potentially defensive tech if you defensive action if you need to do it that way.
Yeah, one thing that I'm not sure if it's on camera before or just like between us at the shop, but something that has blue is you get to a juncture where you have 5 open energy and you can make a lot of plays, but your opponent might still have 4 or 5 life, and it's a juncture where you want to commit to one plan all the way, either offensive or defensive. And the way this card is designed kind of makes me think Bandai is aware of that, like, juncture in blue. It allows you to poke and pressure, and then if you don't really get the desired result, you can switch to defensive style at the cost of making further attacks.
Yeah.
Next one we're going to go over is actually a Z battle card that was revealed, which is pretty nice. This is a Cell Z battle card. Cell Awakening of the Created. Deflect, crit, which is amazing. When this card is played, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 5 or less. Place them under this card. So right there, depends what you're playing against. This is just eating a ton of stuff, which is pretty cool. Activate main once a turn. If 1 or more cards under this card, and you place all of them to the owner's drop area, switch this card to active mode. Additionally, if you use this card's skill to place 4 more cards in the drop, this card gains triple strike for the turn. So not only is it deflect crit, so it's coming to play, it's autos proccing. You're stealing a bunch of cards, putting it underneath them. If you happen to steal 4 more cards with this effect, and then you activate main and pitch it after swinging 1 time of crit, it's now a triple strike crit for 25,000.
I really like this as
Synergy.
Yeah, I really like this as a tool for blue decks. Specifically against decks that otherwise blue might struggle with. Specifically, I'm thinking shit like AOD that might put forth a wide board. This card can just come out, play, eat all the battle cards that don't have barrier, and then spin them off and force out negates as it would.
This is a card, in my opinion, for a Z deck. 2. No more than 2. Only because it doesn't have barrier. So, it is coming to play. It's going to destroy your opponent's field. And that's why I would normally just play as a 1-of. But to just benefit off it, I like that they're having 2. So if I play it early enough and it gets hit, that's fine. I'll bring it out later in the game and go for a game again, or potentially clear a board a second time. Like, having ways to potential, like you said, AOD. Like, as soon as I read that, I immediately went, okay, AOD's dead against blue cards. Fantastic. But yeah, it's just a good way. I feel like blue needed a good way of just blowing fields up. We had that in a lot of other colors. Now I think it's blue's time to get some stuff. Unless I'm missing something. I know like the Frieza will crit the whole board. And like Cooler can neg it out slowly, but those are mixtures of blue and red.
This only costs you 3 energy, and 3 energy is a lot in certain circumstances, but in other circumstances, 3 is not really a lot to clear out the whole field in certain.
Now, I see this being included in every blue Z deck when this set first drops. There's no reason not to play it. It's a rare, so you'll have access to it. It won't be an expensive card at all. And this card shouldn't be in your Z deck if you're playing blue.
And the last card we got is actually a Unison. And I find this very interesting. When I first saw this Unison, it's kind of the reason why I wanted to bring Jake on this particular call as well, was because this Unison, of all of our Unisons we've ever gotten throughout the whole set, reminds me more of a Planeswalker than any other Unison we've ever gotten. Only because it just looks like a Planeswalker card. So this is Super Paikuhan, True Mastery. It has technically 4 effects. So the first one's Rejuvenate. Once per turn, remove 5 markers from this card. You get to pretty much. You also need to rejuvenate, remove a card from underneath it, and you get to add a card from top of your deck to your life, so it helps you kind of boost up. It's a 2-drop Unison that's naturally at 15k, which is fantastic because it has a +2 ability, which means this card is going to be able to stick long enough to potentially either use that rejuvenate or the -6 effect. But the +2 is look up the top 5 cards of your deck, place up to 1 blue card among them to your drop area, and then shuffle your deck afterwards, which can help you for the rest of this engine. We haven't seen a lot of it yet, but I assume there's going to be reasons to put cards in your drop area. The 0 effect is draw 1 card, then place up to 1 card from your hand under this card. So that's the way you get to establish cards underneath this particular Unison to be able to use Rejuvenate later. And the -6, you add up to 1 Paikuhan card from your deck to your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. The -6, Fluff had mentioned earlier, it does seem a little bit weak compared to any other -6 we've seen, anything that big of an effect. But this can pull any Paikuhan in your deck, which I think could be nice in the right time.
Yeah, you were talking about how this Unison feels a lot like a Planeswalker, and I totally get that vibe too. It's 2 energy, image is a little bit blurry. Yeah, 2 energy. So it's aggressively costed, and it makes relevant attacks at 15k. Rejuvenate is something I don't think we've seen in blue yet. But with blue such a sticky color already, this could end up being a auto include in decks like Blue and stuff that really don't play a lot of battle cards and need some kind of pressure early in the game. And your opponent doesn't deal with it, you're just going to be effectively gaining life, which is something that's really hard to counteract. Most decks are designed to deal exactly 8 damage and stop.
Yeah, that's definitely a wonderful thing to point out about this. It's a big enough body, and it's got enough plus on its Unison effect that you could essentially resolve a Rejuvenate by turn 3, turn 4, especially if you load a Paikuhan under a Paikuhan. So that's pretty wild if you ask me. And I think this Unison has the potential to be really good. I do think that some of the other pre-existing Unisons might slot in better overall into the deck, but this Unison definitely isn't bad, especially if its +2 really aligns with what this archetype is ultimately going to be trying to do.
Yeah, which we haven't seen a lot yet when it comes to what can Paikuhan do. I'm sure if I went to all the pictures from San Diego, we might find something that benefits the idea of discarding. But what came to my head most, the cards we talked about yesterday, or at least the last blue set of cards. I'm going to pull them up real quick so you guys can see. But this leader, for example, the Son Goku, benefits off the idea of having Angel Halos in your drop area. Yes, we talked about having the Kai to be able to kind of fish those out, but this Unison, in my opinion, is a better choice to play than Vegeta, Another World Warrior, because you can search top 5 cards and then pull that extra card and place it in your drop area, which will help you establish the Awaken if you weren't able to do it by turn 2 outside of using Kai's ability, the on play and then the -1 afterwards, or the pay 1 afterwards.
Yep, absolutely.
So definitely when I do some testing, I will probably incorporate that Unison as of right now into the Goku one, and like I mentioned, tech this one in, the Vegeta one as like a 2 of or something like that. But that is the Paikuhan West Galaxy Warrior. Hope you all enjoyed today's video. Keep in mind, just buttons down below, comment section. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you enjoy this content. If you want to see any other type of archetypes we haven't really gone over in the past in this type of style, let us know. We'll touch it base as that as well. But yeah, we're gonna go through everything that's being announced as it comes as well. I know we haven't done the starter decks. If you want us to kind of go over the starter decks, we can. Let us know in the comments. Fluff, lead us out, please.
Absolutely. So far, really liking the Paikuhan stuff. I think it's my favorite of the stuff that's been announced so far. So I'm really excited to see what else this archetype specifically gets. It referenced a Cell and a Frieza that needs to be removed from the drop area. So excited to see what those guys do, especially if they have effects when they're being placed into the drop area. But as always, read your cards, know your plays. Let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and fluff out.